Hi, and thanks for joining me for an introduction to SAGE research methods. This database is provided to you by university libraries at the University of South Carolina. SAGE research methods is a little bit different than most of the databases you may have used before, where you enter and search to find articles or other materials that you might use for an assignment or for research. You don't perform research in SAGE research methods. Instead, you use the database to learn how to do research. And of course, that covers a lot of ground. SAGE research methods will help you through the entire research process, from conceptualizing your research idea through performing the research and then through writing up and disseminating your research. Let's start by visiting the library's website to learn how you're going to access SAGE research methods. If you've never been to the library's website before, you can find it at sc.edu/libraries. Once you arrive, you'll see something like this on your screen, and the library's website includes so much information, and we'll talk about almost none of it today, but I do want to mention a couple of things so that you'll know where to click. Once you visit the library's website, you'll see a large search box on your screen. You can type search terms in here to find books, articles, videos, all kinds of materials, but we're actually not going to type anything in here. We want to visit a specific database. So instead, down below the search box on the main homepage, we will click Databases. University Libraries at UofSC has a lot of databases. As of the recording today, we've got 542. There are several different ways to find the database that works best for you. They are always listed alphabetically. You can also sort by subjects included, content type, the vendor, that's the company that we buy the database from, or you can search it by name. Today, I'm going to click on the letter S and scroll down to SAGE research methods. As you can see, it's a new database. We've recently purchased it. When you click SAGE research methods, if you're on campus, you will be immediately routed into the database for access. If you're using a computer that does not have a University of South Carolina Columbia IP address, instead, you'll be asked to sign in with your network username and password that you use for Blackboard, email, and lots of other functions, including anything that you do at university libraries. I want to talk to you a little bit about the homepage of SAGE research methods and everything that we have included in our subscription. If I scroll down, I'll see lots of materials that are available in SAGE research methods. We do not have access to everything that the database offers. So here's what we do have. We have access to all of the books, all of the reference materials, and all of the little green books and little blue books. And those are a series of books published by SAGE on quantitative and qualitative research methods. Altogether, we have over 1,000 book titles. We have access to a collection of videos. As of the recording today, we have about 90. We have access to some podcasts. If you're interested in social sciences research podcasts, you might want to check this out. And we have access to the project planner. The project planner is a tool for helping you plan your research, and it's one of the most heavily used parts of the platform, not just at the University of South Carolina, but across all institutions that have access to this database. We'll talk more about all of this content in just a moment. Up at the top of the screen, there is a menu. This is a sticky menu, meaning that it will display no matter where you are in the database. You can browse for materials. As you'll see, there are topics. So these topics might be useful if you're at a certain stage of research and you're wondering about how to do that stage of research. There are disciplines. These are broad disciplines. If you don't see your discipline displayed here, it doesn't mean that SAGE research methods doesn't have information about doing research in your discipline. It just didn't make this broad category. And there's also content type. And we will look at all of the different content types that we have access to today. There's also a research tools link, and we will talk about all of this today too. And we will also talk about the profile. You do not need to set up an individual profile within Sage Research Methods in order to take advantage of the content in the database. But if you do, there are some definite benefits. And so we'll talk about why you might want to set up an account specifically for yourself within Sage Research Methods. Of course, there's also a search box. The default search method in Sage Research Methods is that it will search the full text of all of the documents and videos included in the database. But when you type search terms into Sage Research Methods, it will also suggest specific books that might be useful and specific keyword searches that might be useful. So for example, if I type in research design, you can see that it's auto-populating some things that it thinks I might be interested in. I can scroll down and I see that there is a suggested search, keyword search for research design methods. If I think, oh yeah, well that's actually what I'm interested in, I can click on it. And I have launched a search within Sage Research Methods for all of the materials that they have on research design models. This results list probably looks pretty familiar to you if you've ever searched library databases before. So you can see that there are results from handbooks, regular books, there's all kinds of stuff in here. In total, we have 14 results for research design models. If you're used to using library databases, it also might not surprise you to see that you can filter your results using a menu on the side of the screen by content type, discipline, result type, and result type could be a video, or it could be an entire book. It could be a book chapter, because of course many times within a book only a chapter of that book might be useful to you, and publication date if you need, for example, something that's newer. Note that at this stage I can open, in this case this is an entry from a handbook. It's the Sage Handbook of Social Sciences Methodology, and this is an entry called Experimental and Quasi-Experimental Design in Behavioral Research on Context, CRUD, and Conversions. I can open it, I can add it to my reading lists, and again, we'll talk about reading lists when we talk about the profile, and I can also export the citation to any number of citation management softwares. I do not see an option to download this content. I can download it, but I cannot do it from this results screen. And I think that they probably have you do one more click before they give you the option to download, so that it doesn't make it too easy for users of the database to download huge amounts of their content, thus rendering them less useful. But if I click on, let's say this first result, I can now download the PDF. I can read the full text of the handbook entry here. I've got information about the entry. I can cite it. I can add it to my reading list. That's where the profile comes in. I can share it. Do I want to tweet out this handbook entry? Maybe. One nice thing about Sage Research Methods is that they do make snippets of their content publicly available. And we'll talk specifically about that when it comes to video clips. And I could also change my text size. So if you want to build a little library of information for yourself within Sage Research Methods, let's say this entry looks particularly useful to you, you might wish to create a profile within the database. I've already created a profile, and I've asked the browser to remember me. If I hadn't created one for myself, I would click Create Profile right here. But since I have, I'll click Login. And I can add this to my reading list. I've already created a couple of reading lists within Sage Research Methods. I've created one called Experimental Design and research basics. I've also got a clips library of video clips. Again, we'll talk about those in just a moment. Let's say I want to add this to my experimental design reading list. I can at any time go into my profile. I can see my reading lists. And here I've got the experimental design reading list that I've already created with the entries for the list. I've got a research basics reading list. I can view the details of the reading list. I can embed this reading list. So if I'm using Blackboard, for example, let's say I'm an instructor in a course, I could embed this directly into Blackboard or into a website. I can share it, I can edit it, I can create citations for all of it, or I can delete it. I can also save entire searches. I clicked on my searches, and I see that I have saved a search for the search terms qualitative analysis. As time goes by, Sage Research Methods adds more and more content to their library and makes it available to us. So I can save this search and run it at any time, and a new updated list of results will be created. I could also edit this search if need be, and as you do your research within Sage Research Methods, to learn how to do those methods, those research methods, you might need to create a rather complex search. So you can always go in and edit it or add to it, or you could delete it. So that is why you might want to create a profile within Sage Research Methods. It's a useful tool whether or not you create the profile, but when you do create it, it gives you that ability to save materials for yourself to access at another time. Okay, now let's take a look at videos. I'll just browse over to videos by clicking on it within the content type. I could also search for videos. There are a number of different ways to access them. I'm not particularly interested in any video right now for the purposes of this demonstration, but here are videos that we have access to. As of today, it looks like we have access to 91 videos. If I click on a video, I can see that I can play the video within my browser. There's a transcript of the video. I can download the transcript of the video, or as I play the video, it's going to auto scroll through the transcript to highlight the words that are being spoken in the video at that time. There's a summary of the video. And because I've logged into my profile, I can create a clip of the video. It's an 8-minute 57-second long video, but maybe I only want a portion of this video. There are a couple reasons I might want to do that. Maybe only a portion of it is useful for me. Maybe I would like to share a portion of this video with peers in my class, or maybe I am teaching and I want to include a clip for the students in the class to see. So I could, let's say, start a clip at 20 seconds and end it at 4 minutes, if that's the portion of the content that was interesting to me. I could create a description, cool clip for the class, and I could save it to my clips. At that time, Sage Research Methods is going to say, you know what, I bet you might want to embed this clip. If you've ever embedded video in the content management system like Blackboard or in a website, you probably know that what you're looking for is the iframe code. Here it is. You can copy and paste that in, as you're editing your page, and then it will display within. Again, I can cite it, I can add it to a list. I can share it. I can also create a permanent link to it. I can share the entire video, or I can narrow it down. So this link will always work. It will always bring anyone who clicks it to this video, even people who do not have access to SAGE research methods through their institution. It's a really nice benefit that they offer. Let's talk next about some of the other research tools. We've already talked about reading lists because those are included in the profile. Let's take just a moment to discuss method maps. A method map is a visual representation of concepts that are included, in this case, in the database SAGE Research Methods. I think that method maps are very helpful for some people, maybe not as much for others, but they're a good brainstorming tool. So for example, here is a method map for research methods, very, very broad search. It's the broadest possible search in this database. There are no broader terms. There are narrower terms. So I could start out with a broad concept like research methods, and in order to learn more, I could look at these narrower concepts, and if one seemed very interesting to me, let's say data collection, for example, I could click it, and it's going to relaunch this methods map. We now have a broader term where we could go back to research methods, and we have some narrower terms. And maybe I'm interested in quantitative data collection. And if I click that, once again, it relaunches the method map. I can also search method map. So for example, I could type quantitative data collection. And create the same method map that way. If I got to a method map for quantitative data collection and I realized, oh, structured observation is what I really want to learn about, again, I can click there, and here I have broader terms, narrower terms. At the moment, I don't have any related terms, but I can instruct the database to launch a search for all content on structured observation. When I do that, it's going to take me to a list. Here's information from the project planner, which we're going to talk about in just a moment, an entry from an encyclopedia, an entry from a dictionary, and more. Now let's talk about which stats test. Which stats test is a handy little wizard that you can use to help you understand what type of statistical test you might want to run on a data set that you've collected or created. You look in the box and answer the questions to come up with an appropriate statistical test that you might want to run. So for example, let's say I have a fictitious data set, and question 1 says, what's the purpose of your analysis? Do I want to look for the differences between two sets of data, or do I want to look for an association between variables? Let's say maybe I want to look for an association between variables. I can click next. Brings me to another question. I can select an answer. And it says, hey, you might want to conduct this test. If you need to know more about the test, you can click on it, and it's going to launch information that can help you understand how to do it. So this is going to be a nice tool for anybody who needs to do some analysis and doesn't have a lot of experience with that, and maybe hasn't yet had a course on how to do it. Back at Research Tools, the last thing I'd like to mention is the Project Planner. As I said at the beginning of our time together, the Project Planner is a very highly used feature within SAGE Research Methods, and it's pretty cool. It guides students through every step of the research process. So whether it's your first time doing research or whether you have experience, Here are the early stages of research. Hey, how do you define a topic? Or how do you conduct a literature review? All the way through your data analysis and interpretation, writing up your results, and then disseminating them. If you're at the beginning stages of research and don't have a lot of experience doing research, you can click one of these early stages. Or if you already know how to do the early stages, you could click on a later one. So for example, maybe we want to look at data analysis and interpretation. There are tools available within the project planner that will look pretty familiar to you. You can download it, you can cite it, you can add it to a list, you can share it. As you scroll through the research planner, it's going to give you information that you can read, links that you can click on. At times, it will provide videos that you can watch. And when you're done reading through that section of the project planner, you should be much more well informed about that stage of the research process. And you can go to, for example, the next stage. Okay, maybe now I want to learn about writing up my research. So thank you so much for spending some time with me today to learn about SAGE research methods. As a reminder, you can visit the University Libraries website at sc.edu/libraries. If you'd like to contact me directly, I'm available at winches2@mailbox.sc.edu or 803-777-1968. And I've also included the URL for my department within University Libraries, Digital Research Services. Digital Research Services has a new listserv. If you would like to join the listserv to get information about upcoming events and news and other items of interest, feel free to scan the QR code now. Thank you.